A boy named Shinpei Ajiro has a dream about his friend named Ushio Kofune. She tells him to protect her sister Mio and jumps into the water soon after that. Shinpei reaches out to her, hoping to bring her back, but he wakes up from his dream and finds himself in an awkward encounter with a woman who is later revealed to be his favorite author, Nagumo Ryunosuke. She slaps him for his behavior, and then Shinpei reaches the island of Hitogashima, which he is visiting after 2 years. We learn that Ushio had recently passed away, and Shinpei is visiting to attend her funeral. Now he runs into Mio, who is excited to meet him, but her brakes fail and she falls into the ocean's water. Shinpei helps her out of the water, after which they catch up on old times, while we also notice Nagumo plotting something in the background. At the funeral, Shinpei remembers how he lost his own parents 10 years ago, and we learn that the Kofune family led by Ellen took him in and raised him as their own. He overhears some women talking about Dr. Hishigata performing an autopsy on Ushio's body. The doctor's son, So, meets Shinpei and tells him that Ushio died while trying to save a drowning child named Shiori Kobayakawa. Her family is also present at the funeral, and Shinpei notices a weird flash but doesn't think much of it. Later, Shinpei meets Alan and Mio at the Kofune diner and they have dinner together. However, a local cop named Tetsu Totsumura finds Mio outside staring at her own house. Now Shinpei meets So, who says that his dad was asked to check Ushio's body by the cops, and he found out that she was strangled as there were marks on her neck. However, the police have still kept this a secret. The next day, Mio gives Shinpei Ushio's necklace and hugs him as she cries in an emotional moment. Mio claims that her sister was murdered but brushes it off afterward. Now Shinpei begins to cry as he remembers how Ushio had still held on to the necklace he gifted her all those years ago. At the Kofune diner, Shinpei meets Tetsu, who casually mentions that the Kobayakawa family has gone missing, and he believes the reason to be their massive debts. Mio is devastated to hear this and runs away in tears, so Shinpei chases after her. When he catches up, Mio tells him that she saw someone who looked exactly like her on Mount Takanosu a week ago. As she says this, an old hunter named Nezu Ginjiro shows up and talks about an old tale that mentions evil beings named shadows that are known to look like humans and replace the originals after killing them. Mio agrees with his theory of shadow sickness as she remembers that her grandma used to tell her the same story. After Nezu leaves, Shinpei is shocked to learn that even Ushio had seen her shadow 3 days before her death. After some discussion, the two of them decide to go to the Hiroko for help. Once they reach, Mio spots someone and believes her to be Shiori, so she and Shinpei chase after her. However, they hear a gunshot and investigate the scene. It turns out to be Nagumo, who's been badly injured. She tries to say something to Shinpei but is shot by Shadow Mio, who goes on to kill real Mio and Shinpei as well. Suddenly, Shinpei finds himself back in the ferry when he bumped into Nagumo for the first time. He was slapped again for his antics, but this time he's able to recollect the memories of his previous life. Shinpei believes this isn't a dream as he notices the date and realizes that he's gone back in time. He calls back to a horror mystery where a family was replaced by its clones and suspects something similar is happening on the island. Much to his surprise, Shinpei notices that everything is playing out exactly the same way as it did in his previous life. This time, he also spots Mio's brakes and realizes that someone has tampered with them, probably hoping to kill her. Completely baffled by what's going on, Shinpei visits the funeral and continues to act out his part, and he notices the flash again. At night, he goes outside Mio's house and notices her shadow watching it from outside. She meets Tetsu, just like last time, and now we learn that she had killed him as she proceeds to do the same right now. She uses her powers to create his clone, and that's when Shinpei realizes that the flash is what triggers the creation of a shadow. Shadow Mio and Shadow Tetsu begin discussing their plan to kill Mio, and Shinpei listens on their conversation. However, his phone begins to ring, and it alerts the clones immediately. They find him, and then Shadow Mio kills him with her knife. Shinpei has transported back to a previous checkpoint again, but this time he finds himself at the port and not in the ferry. He finds Mio, who is losing control of her bike, and decides to save her this time, but he gets pushed into the water and is about to drown. Luckily, Mio saves him, and they resume their journey to the funeral. Now we see Nagumo, who is recording herself while hanging upside down. At night, Shinpei calls Tetsu and gives him a false complaint about a fight happening somewhere else so that Tetsu doesn't run into Shadow Mio. Now Shinpei prepares himself for the task at hand and records whatever he can. During this, he also notices that one of his eyes has changed its color. After an awkward encounter with Mio, he figures that she's the original and goes on to show her the Shadow's picture he took the night before. This shocks Mio and they discuss the Shadow sickness again. Mio says that even Shiori had seen her shadow, so she wants to help her, but Shinpei says he'll go alone as he wants to keep her safe. He visits the Kobayakawa house but finds it shut after after which he runs into a fellow resident named Chiyomi. She takes him inside the house, but they don't find anyone there. However, Shinpei notices the shadow marks on the floor and realizes that the family has already been killed. The tension continues to grow as Shinpei looks around the house for clues. That's when he notices a flash behind him and finds Shiori's shadow confronting him about what he told her at the funeral. Just as she's about to kill him, Chiyomi arrives, so she runs away. Shinpei realizes that Nagumo must know something important, so he asks around town hoping to find her. However, he has no luck with that, so he goes back to the diner. Here he meets Tetsu, who acts genuinely when he mentions the Kobayakawa family's disappearance, thus proving that he's still human. Now Tetsu gives Ushio's phone to Shinpei and reveals that she told him to hand it over to him if anything would happen to her. Shinpei meets So and tells him everything that's happened so far. However, the tricky part is that they can't differentiate between a shadow and the original human. Mio suggests going to the Hiroko shrine, but Shinpei delays it to the day of the summer festival. The day of the festival arrives and Shinpei is greeted by Mio, So, and his sister Tokiko. The team goes to the shrine to celebrate the festival, but Shinpei still feels guilty about Ushio. So gets into an argument with him that leads to an awkward encounter with the girls. However, Shinpei notices Ushio in the crowd and goes after her. Much to his surprise, he sees that it's actually her when he spots her at the beach. Ushio recognizes Shinpei and hugs him, but he notices her necklace and figures that she's a shadow. Despite his accusations, Ushio doesn't seem hostile and is only able to remember that she had died in the water. Now Ushio says that she loves Shinpei and acts very friendly with him. She takes him back to the festival and Ushio realizes that she's not aware of her shadow identity. He decides to take Ushio to a secluded spot, and her genuine behavior continues to confuse him even further. Mio calls Shinpei, and Ushio abruptly answers, but Shinpei is able to play it down as a misunderstanding to Mio. Now he hides Ushio and goes back to the team. He meets Tokiko, who teases him about Mio, as So proposes his love to her. However, Mio rejects him, and then Ushio shows up in a horrible disguise to talk to her friends, and she's found out almost instantly. Everyone is shocked to see her, but Mio knows her sister is dead, so she calls Shadow Ushio a monster. Unfortunately for them, Shinpei is also revealed to be a shadow. A flashback explains how the real Shinpei was intercepted by Shadow Mio, who went on to badly injure him with her brute strength. Now Shadow Shinpei shows up and downloads all his memories. He learns about his time-traveling abilities and tells Mio not to kill him, as he might stop them from awakening Mother if he keeps restarting his life. Shadow Shinpei leaves to murder the others, and Shadow Mio continues to torture original Shinpei. Luckily, Nagumo shows up and shoots Shadow Mio. She reappears, but Nagumo is able to kill her for good by shooting her shadow. Then she patches up Shinpei and introduces herself to him. She hides him from another shadow who actually turns out to be Ushio, running in her fake disguise. That's when she reveals that the clones have flat shadows that they don't want others to step on. We also learn that shadows like to feed on human data, and Nagumo has been killing a lot of them recently, but they keep showing up to fulfill their common goal, which is to awaken Mother. Shinpei rushes to save his friends, but he is devastated to see that everyone in the festival has been killed by a giant shadow. Shinpei watches as Mio is about to be killed by Shadow So, but Nagumo saves her. However, the giant shadow shoots Nagumo right after that and constricts Shinpei. It declares that he has Mother's eye after examining him. Meanwhile, Ushio continues to maintain that she's a human as she struggles against Shadow Shinpei, but he points out that she is also one of them. In a painful moment, Mio is killed in front of Shinpei, and the giant shadow absorbs everything in its path. It uses this energy to summon Mother, who starts to consume everyone in front of her. Nagumo seems to recognize Mother as a girl named Haine, but all hope seems lost. Luckily, Shinpei remembers his powers and begs Nagumo to shoot him. The giant shadow tries to stop him, but Ushio punches it away, thus allowing Shinpei to be killed so that he can start over. As he is being transported, he's told by Ushio that his powers are limited. Shinpei wakes up again, but this time, he's at the point where he's already saved Mio from falling. He realizes what Ushio was talking about, and then we see Shadow Ushio Hao by the shore. Nagumo reaches the island and goes to the funeral where she meets Karikiri, the island's priest, who calls her Hizuru, her previous identity. We learn that Nagumo was a regular customer at the Kofune diner 14 years ago. Now Alan tells her about Shinpei, so she leaves a code behind and goes away. However, Alan catches up to her and reveals how Ushio really died. Nagumo notices a similarity with Haine's death, which also happened 14 years ago. Now she checks the corpse and reveals the strangle marks after which she meets Asako Isakone, whom she immediately identifies as a shadow. Now we learn that Nagumo is working with Nezu as she reveals to him what she learned at the funeral. They realize that Shadow Shiori was the one who killed Ushio in the water, and that drowning was just an act to lure her. Meanwhile, Shinpei plays the part in front of everyone and notices that Shiori's entire family has been turned into shadows. Then he asks everyone if they've seen Nagumo, and Alan gives him the code she left behind. Shinpei translates it easily and comes in contact with Nezu, who takes him seriously only after confirming that he isn't a shadow. In the middle of this, Nagumo kills Shadow Alan, who had tried to kill real Alan in the washroom. Then Shinpei and Nagumo finally meet, and she confirms that he is a time traveler. And that's the end of part 1. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to see part 2 soon. Also hit the bell icon for regular notifications. See you later!